So, the second story I have today is called Some Observations on Fairies by Patchouli Knowledge, but it's actually by the Unmoving Great Library, which is actually Patchouli Knowledge's other names or title or whatever, so hey, I guess she wrote it. This is a case summary by Patchouli for documenting a normal day for a group of fairies. After learning a clown piece had never seen candy before, the fairies of light decided to rob a candy shop. That's a fair summary. So in case you didn't know, Patchouli Knowledge is a fairly old magician in Touhou who has her own library and tends to not leave it very much. But apparently she's doing some observation on fairies today. Sort of a scientific article, you could say. So, Introduction, Chapter 1. In order to understand why the study of fairies is such a neglected field, there is no example more illustrative than the medieval scholar Alonso de Molana. Alonso was known widely for his far-reaching travels, which he extensively documented the local fairy populations. In 1347 AD, a battered diary which travels in Morocco, his last on-written record, turned up in a private collection of the magician Morin in Mosa al-Sunni. The diary is written in Haragathi, a notoriously difficult language, but Marwan never left me in a translation. When he reached a final entry 2 years ago, he translated as, "By the evil works of spirits, I am undone. Sand fills the crevice. Never again will I know peace." On the strength of this single account, it's widely agreed that Milana had gotten trapped in a valley where a vengeful ghost triggered a landslide, and there he died of dehydration. It was not until centuries later that a skilled linguist, Nadezhda Konstantinova, attempted a new translation. She discovered that the translation, while mostly accurate, struggled in nuance and metaphor. The word he translated spirits, for example, was widely used to mean fairies in several dialects. Crevice was a widely used double entree in Argathian. What had been formally identified as a Diamond's last note was reinterpreted. The fairies that Maloney was studying had simply stolen his undergarments, and he was complaining about getting sand on uncomfortable parts of his anatomy. It is now believed he died of unrelated causes nearly a decade later. Such are the risks faced by anyone who chooses to study fairies. It's not a glamorous field. There are no secrets of the universe to be learned from it. No magician has ever found a path to immortality from it. Research subjects are mischievous and rude. Even when they cooperate, they can be difficult to observe for prolonged periods. And when they don't cooperate, they're so annoying that several naturalists have had to abandon years-long fairy observation projects after getting in fistfights with their research subjects. Yes, I maintain that fairy studies are an important and underappreciated field of magical research. Fairies form the underpinnings of many natural processes. They're often used as servants or familiars by young magicians who must know what to expect. If nothing else, they're a common annoyance during fieldwork, and any knowledge to make it easier to chase them off is always welcome. To that end, this paper will be examining a sample group of fairies on our normal day-to-day affairs. I will demonstrate their behavior often follows simple rules and make their actions easy to predict, and will offer further insight into ways and means of fairies. Methodology. "Master," said one of the lesser devils I bound to my service when I first mentioned my intent, "if you want to watch some fairies, there are plenty around the mansion." This observation is foolish and incorrect, of course, but even such a wrong-headed idea qualifies a lofty thought coming from a lesser devil. Aww. I thanked her for input and sent her to fetch me a cup of coffee so I could peace for 2 hours, such a menial task would doubtless take her. Jeez. That is rude. It's true that I have a large supply of fairies available to study within the walls of my residence. However, as a true naturalist knows, a creature's behavior is much changed outside its native habitat. For this endeavor, only wild fairies be suitable. Further, as fairies are inclined to meddle, observers need to watch them without my presence being known. For these reasons, I form my observations remotely through a 5-2-keyed humonic scrying pool made of refined mercury, enchanted tradition of the second revival in Modo. As creating such a device is trivial, I will not go into steps to reproduce it here. Damn it, now I want to know! Instantly, I have heard some fanon ideas of fairies actually change to their environment, so that would change some things too. For instance, let's suppose being in the mansion for extended periods of time also changes them. They tend to wear those maid outfits, so maybe they get taller and more refined looking or something. They may look more mature if they stay in the mansion for long enough, who knows? I know for a fact the ones that stay in Makai in the games have different looking wings, so they probably do change depending on their environment to some degree. Anyway. For researchers chose a notoriously active group of fairies from nearby. The group is formed of three fairies. These fairies, their classification abilities are Sunny Milk, Daemonium Solarium, a sunlight fairy, their ability to reflect light made to hide herself from view, Star Sapphire, a starlight fairy with the ability to sense nearby living creatures, and Luna Child, a moonlight fairy with the ability to silence nearby sounds. And I did get a picture, so here's what they look like, more or less. There's Sunny, there's... actually, hold on. I get these two mixed up, but I think this one's Star and this one's Luna. Or I could have got them backwards. think. Maybe. She's named Sunny because she has the power to reflect light. I don't know where the milk comes in. Anyway, these three fairies compose a stable group of Mingara for several years. Due to their association with celestial bodies, they refer themselves as the Fairies of Light. To distinguish the phrase from the Light Fairy, I will capitalize it. And two more fairies have become involved and record my observations. These are Clown Piece, Daemonum Infernal, a hell fairy to produce madness in humans. I've yet to determine why a hell fairy decided to live so far from her natural habitat. And Shirno, an ice fairy with a simple ice manipulation ability of poor reputation, even worse judgment. For more information, see my 2014 paper, Ice Fairies Essential to Pan, Louder and Stupider. Anyway, the observation period began on December 21st, 2016. On December 28th, the incidents report and document report began, ending at 6:42 p.m. on December 29th. The late morning of December 20th was not an eventful time for the Fairies of Light. Over the preceding week, they conducted 17 snowball fights. They'd taken advantage of Shirno's seasonal abilities to play several pranks. They built an assortment of snowmen, snow ladies, snow children at various points across the countryside, along with a snow bear for walnuts for eyes. They attempted to achieve escape velocity by sliding down a mountain slide in a stolen wash bin, though thoroughly misunderstanding a magazine article about the Apollo flights. In a single week, they'd done practically everything three fairies could do in a single winter. The only problem was it wasn't even January yet. Sunny claps face first on the ground, and a power cloud of snow sparkling in the air. This sucks, she whined. There has to be something we can do today. We could visit the shrine, Star suggested. She's taking a seat against the base of the tree, serves her home, sipping a cup of sake. She managed to sneak the last bottle supply of their hideout and was eagerly downing a parent to attempt to finish it before the other two caught on. There might be something fun going on. We can't go to the shrine, Luna said. She stood on a nearby rock trying her best to focus on a book despite Sunny's complaints. Remember, we still mattered last time. Star pouted. I thought the snow maiden we made for her was cute. I mean the time before that with the pitfall. Oh right, humans can really hold a grudge, huh? So Star filled up her cup again. A quarter of sake disappeared down her throat. Oh! Sunny bolts up to raising in her class snow. We didn't visit Alice and Verge. Maybe she'll give us snacks. Didn't a bunch of dolls with swords chase us off last time? Oh yeah. She signed class to the ground defeat. For a few minutes, everyone was quiet except for occasional soft sipping noise from Star's direction. This sucks. Sunny scooted again twice as loud as the first time. We can't spend all day doing nothing. We couldn't read, Luna said. Shiny saw her glare to indicate that was not an option. If Luna noticed her at the edge of her book, she didn't give any sign. There's no secret fairies require constant stimulation, but I believe the contemporary studies have underestimated how deeply this motivation runs. For example, it's observed that an average fairy spends 84% of her waking time on entertainment or leisure and the other 16% eating. This is incorrect. As fairies are spirits, they don't need to eat to survive. Fairies often need to abstain from eating. They can't find food they like, or at least some liquor to go with the meal. Fairies often eat for enjoyment, so in fact one could say entertainment is their sole motivation. This has broad implications I will examine later. Before we could settle on a plan, a nauseous shout pierced the winter air. Hey, you fairies! All three looked up at what they were doing, but no apparent speaker was visible. The clearing around their tree was empty, and only a few brave winter squirrels started around the edges. I'd be remiss if I didn't notice Sunny watched them, as if concerned the possibility one of them had shouted. What is that? Luna asked, glancing at Star. I didn't feel anyone approaching, Star with a shrug. Maybe it was a ghost, Sunny said with the first hint of excitement. Luna's gaze fell on the bottle in her lap. Hey, and our last bottle of... Before she could finish a sentence, a red-blue streak flashed across the heavens like a meteor slamming the ground barely a meter in front of her. A shockwave of snow blasted out, leaving her sputtering. At the point of impact was Clown Piece with arms outstretched for a landing and an annoyed look on her face. You shouldn't ignore people, you know. We weren't ignoring you, Luna said. We didn't know you were there. Yeah, Star didn't even feel you. You didn't learn to turn invisible, did you? No, I was just on top of that tree up there. She straightened up, proudly crossing arms from her chest. I ran all the way here across the treetops. Across the treetops, Star poured herself into her cup. The bottle's contents already past the halfway point. She had a warm glow to her cheeks. That's a weird way to get around. What's the point of having all these trees if you're not going to use them? Besides, it's got cold and no fun to look at anymore. And that's just what happens during winter, Luna said. You get used to it. Maybe, but I still think it's boring. So wait, Sunny exclaimed, nearly cutting her off. She lunged forward, beaming up at Clown Piece in her kneeling position. If you're here, that means you have something exciting going on, right? Not really. Just want you guys to answer a question. Oh. What's the question, Star asked. Clown Piece whirled on her. What the heck do you eat when the weather's like this? Huh? Food. I was eating berries and such before, but I can't find any now. The few squirrels had already vacated the clearing now and led in the face of her outburst. After a few shakes of her fist, she glanced forward to lay in the snow next to Sunny. All I can find are roots and stuff. They're boring. They're too boring. That's just how winter is. Complaining won't help. If you're lucky, you can find some mushrooms. Nothing like that. I want something sweet. There isn't any fruit or anything unless you can find some candy. You're out of luck. Clown Piece huffed and slid her hands back behind her head, staring at the sky. What's candy? All three fairies stared at her in disbelief. She glanced at Chino confused. Well, you never had candy before? No, I think I heard some tortured soul scream about it once or twice, but I don't know what it is. What'd you eat for fun in hell then? Huh? Well, sometimes Lady Hikadia brought me some tasty things from her parts of hell, like frozen screams and crystals that grew out of glutton's blood. And Luna frowned distastefully. What kind of weird treats are those? They're good. They almost taste as good as the berries and things up here. She pushed herself in the snow and shoved pulled her legs under herself, saying crossly, looking back in between them. What's so weird about this candy stuff? It's the best food there is, Sunny exclaimed. It's sweeter than any fruit you ever tasted, Star, clasping her hands together blissfully. It's pretty good, Luna agreed. Huh, well, give me some of that then. No one budged. After a few seconds, Sunny said, well, you can only get it at the village. There's a candy store there where you used to be able to sneak in and take some, but the owner got mad and made it really hard. Clumpy sighed. So what, we gotta find money to buy it? Or... And then the Star down the last bit of sake and triumphantly slammed the empty bottle in the snow. If stealing normal stuff is fun, that means stealing something that makes it really hard to do is really fun, right? Here we see more evidence of fairies' constant need for stimulation, but also their lack of morals. Apart from certain magicians have had the misfortune to encounter, few humans are able to so quickly embrace theft as a solution to their simple problem. However, while fairies show low concepts of morality, they don't actively try to be immoral like some devils. Fairies frequently inflict theft, minor injuries, and mutilation on others in pursuit of entertainment, but they're rarely inclined to serious crimes like arson or murder. If you're ever killed by a fairy, you may rest assured it was an accident and they are just as surprised as you are. Soon the fairies had reconvened their hideout with a large sheet of paper spread on a table between them. Okay, so Sunny leaned over and drew a square in the middle. This is what the candy shop looks like, right? It's kind of a square, Luna agreed. It has a roof, Star said. Notice what it looks like from above on a map. It has a door, though. With her tongue sticking out of the corner of her mouth in concentration, she labeled one side door. The collected fairies nodded in agreement. No one by her point the issues are writing, considering none of them had a formal education. I suppose it's a small miracle she managed a basic word without assistance. Oh, there's that window we snuck in that one time. She wrote Weindo near those shops back corner while Star frowned thoughtfully. I don't think we can get in there anymore though. He paid Marisa to put some explosive magic on it. Chino tried to get in last autumn, she blew up. We'll figure out how to get past it once we finish the map, Sunny said. She sketched a rectangle in the middle of the square, labeled it Ka-Andy, and circled it for good measure. Why don't you just come in through the front door, Clumpy asked. He can see the door from his chair, Star said inside. Last time I was sneaking in, we saw the door opening and caught us. Caught me, you mean? Luna grumbled. I thought he was going to exterminate me. Oh, there's a dog too, said Star. She got a pencil from Sunny and had a circle labeled dog near the front of the map. He likes humans, but he really hates fairies. The candy cabinets are locked too, said Luna. Star drew a little padlock on the candy icon. So we can get past all that, we still can't let the shopkeeper see us, Star said and had a frowny face in the back of the store. The fairies are quiet looking over the diagram. Clumpy's glanced between different items and summarized. So you have to sneak in through the door, make the window not explodey, get rid of a dog, and get rid of the human who owns the place, and unlock the cabinets? Uh-huh. Sunny drooped so hard even her pigtails seemed to hang lower. Yeah. The collected fairies went back to staring in silence. Well, Luna sat there a minute past. I think I know how to get rid of the dog, but it'll be really scary, and we'll need some more food. Taking the pencil, she drew a fish on outside the window with an arrow pointing toward the dog. I think I know I can get the window open too, but it's kind of mean, Star said. She took a pencil next to it and drew a stick-figured X's for eyes next to the window. One by one, arrows and doodles were added in. They worked late into the night until a plan came together. I admire their diligence, I really do. The fairies rose again their heist at dawn the next morning. The main surprise was Ryu's more familiar with their species of yokai. Unlike most yokai, fairies are not known for spending much time resting. They sleep when they're tired, but as this cuts in their vital entertainment time, many will rise as soon as they're fully rested or continue to play past nightfall to the detriment of their sleep schedule. After a quick breakfast, they headed to the nearby lake and approached the house of an ice fairy, Chirno. It's very rare for a fairy to build a dwelling instead of choosing to inhabit a natural feature associated with their element, and Chirno's house has demonstrated why. It's a little more than a crudely fashioned mound of snow at the inside scooped out. I say was because it melts and collapses by the end of the week, forcing her to make a new one. A sensible creature would take the hint and use sturdier building materials, but since Chirno is not sensible, she instead chooses to build new houses on a daily basis. Chirno's outside when they arrived, staying on the edge of the ice's lake, glaring at the water and mutter, and fluttering her wings she exerted her powers. Bit by bit the ice crept forward to extend further along the lake. The four fairies watched curiously. What's she doing? Clompys whispered. I don't know, Sunny whispered back and raised her voice. Hey Chirno, what are you doing? She stopped her work and glanced back at them and realized she had an eye and she puffed up her chest. I'm freezing the lake. She gushed back to the already frozen area. See how much I already did? That seems like a waste of time, Clompys said. Star asks, wouldn't it be easier to wait until it gets colder and the lake freezes anyway? Chino gave her a pitying look. Maybe for wimps like you, anyone can get a frozen lake if you wait for it to get cold. It's only impressive you gotta work for it. Well, now we got our stuff for you to do, Compy. Stepped in front of the group and crossed her arms, staring Chino down. We got big plans and we need a fish, so you can catch one for us. Chino scowled back. I'll see why I should help some dumb fairy who thinks she can boss me around. Dumb fairy? Compy looked shocked on the sudden, her expression green, a very smug grin. I can boss you around because I can beat you up if you say no. Ha! Everyone knows I'm the strongest fairy around. Well, I'm the strongest fairy, and hell, which means I'm a billion times stronger than some lousy earth fairy like you. Chino clenched her fists to her sides and vibrated anger. The ice around her crackled as a fresh layer of frost started spreading. What'd you say? I said you're a lousy earth fairy, grinning viciously. Now catch us a fish. I once employed a tome of oral acquisition to tally every time a fairy claimed to be the strongest fairy in the region. During a 2-week observation period, this happened 46 times, spoken by 32 different fairies. Very little is written on organizational structure of groups of fairies. They seem naturally inclined to follow the strongest fairy nearby, but since no fairy will admit to being weaker, this really accomplishes nothing. Lacking a clear hierarchy, they get along the long, obnoxious arguments. As fairies are practically capable of talking without shouting, I assume they think whoever shouts the loudest is the best at being a fairy. This hypothesis needs more research, but all currently available data supports it. So, like orcs, I guess. Before Compy and Chino come to blows, Star said, before clearing her throat to interrupt their argument. You really are a very strong fairy, told Chino, her voice dripping with flattery. Actually, we didn't come here to tell you what to do. We really want you to make you an offer. You do? Chino asked. We do? Compy asked. Since we admire you so much, we have a plan to help you teach the humans to respect you. Chino was skeptical. What is it? Well, it's a really good idea. I don't know if I should just tell you. What kind of dumb fairy says she has an idea and then won't tell me? It's an idea to make all the humans scared of you. It'd be pretty silly to tell it to you without asking for anything, don't you think? Chino huffed and crossed her arms. Well, what do you want? She tapped her finger, lifted a finger, pretended to be deep in thought. I think I could tell you if you give us a fish. That'd be enough payment, don't you think? Star looked the air free in a nodding, confused agreement. Chino grinned. A fish is easy. Watch this. She bent over the edge of the ice, her eyes flitting side to side. She stared into the water's depths. 10 seconds passed in silence. She then thrust her hands forward. With a tortured squeal, the water's surface contorted and thrust in the air, forming a meter-tall spike of ice. Near the tip, frozen, the center was a bubble of water, and inside that was a single cart bumping against the wall of this tiny prison in confusion. There! She braced her foot in the spike and tugged on the tip. It snapped off, leaving a cart bubble in her hands, and she offered it over. That's a pretty good fish, right? Now you gotta tell me your idea. I just want to stop and point out that is pretty epic. That is amazing that she can do that. She didn't even kill the fish. I thought she'd just freeze it solid, but no, there's even a little bowl of water for it, so she brought them a live fish. She can make fish bowls! That's amazing! Like, that's not just strong, that's creative. I would never thought she could do that. That's very specific ice manipulation there. Now, if only she was a little smarter, there's no end to what she could do with that. I mean, I already know she made an ice sword, so there you go. Anyway, Star looked at the fish, pretending to give it heavy consideration, gave a reluctant nod. I guess a fish like that'll work. In that case, she leaned in and whispered to Chino. Chino's expression grew brighter and brighter for the exchange. Really? Really? That's great. Those dumb humans won't know it hit them. That's right. If I get in there, everyone will know I'm the strongest fairy there is. The strongest thing in Tokyo. Yup. Behind the bear club, he was glancing between your companions in disbelief. Sully and Lunacy mostly are raptured by proceedings. So, why don't you go try it right now? That's a dumb idea, Chino said. First, gotta make a flag to paint so everyone knows it was me. Then I'll do it. Just you wait. Cheered and Bar saying goodbye before she turned and rushed back to her house, only slipping and falling in the ice 2 times in the process. When she was gone, Scar swooped up her imprisoned fish and headed back toward the group. So, what'd you tell her? Luna asked. Yeah, I'm curious, Compy said. You'll find it pretty soon. Let's go find a good spot to watch the candy shop. On first glance, a reader might believe in the preceding scene proves that fairies are intellectually hopeless. After all, they can easily catch fish whenever they want. Why would they insist on stealing candy instead of just cooking the fish? That would be a mistake. Fairies are inventive, unpredictable, and resourceful. They're good at solving problems despite their limited abilities and finding endlessly new ways to make annoyances of themselves. Make no mistake about it, fairies are not intelligent, but fairies are clever. Furthermore, the previous observation should also be considered. Entertainment is paramount. If you get a choice between eating a delicious meal for free or stealing a loaf of stale bread, I imagine a significant percentage of fairies would opt for the bread. After making the journey into the village, the 4 fairies settled in a rooftop across the candy store with the imprisoned fish sitting between them. The candy store is not a difficult landmark to find. Its architectural style matched nearby buildings, but its proprietor, in an attempt to distinguish it, posted a sign reading "Candy" over the doorway, written in garish pastels. Pictures of candy were scattered around for a significant portion of his clientele who couldn't read. After a few minutes in silence, Compiece asked, "So what are we waiting for?" Star shushed her. Not long afterwards, she descended from the sky and landed in an alley across the street with a crude flag in her hands. She went back to the rear corner of the candy shop where a single window stood closed. After glancing side to side to make sure no one was watching, she braced her feet on the ground, grabbed the window, and hefted it open. The window barely budged an inch, for magical runes flared across the edge and a torrent of energy flooded out. Chirino gave a yelp of surprise, briefly visible as only as a silhouette as a discharge hurtled across the alley. She slammed to the wall of the opposite building, rebounded most of the way back across the alley, and fell on the ground, lightly sizzling. There, Star declared, and now the traps are gone. Luna stood staring at Chirino in shock. "What'd you tell her?" "I told her he got rid of the traps so she'd sneak in. Then she tried and set off the traps. Pretty convenient, right?" It was metaphorically true. The other fairies exchanged glances. "Is it just me?" Compiece whispers. "This girl kinda scary." "Look who's talking." Luna rose from the rooftop, brushing the knees of her dress. "Come on, we still got a lot to do." Among most species of yokai, convincing another individual to touch a magic anti-yokai war would be considered the highest form of betrayal. This is of course an illustration of fairies' lack of morality, also reinforced another hypothesis I long held. Fairies are without proper respect for death or peril. A fairy's form is destroyed through anything except the most thorough of extermination will always reappear as long as the natural forces that birthed her remain. As such, while they show a fear of danger, they don't carry themselves anywhere near the gravitas a human might in similar circumstances. A fairy will risk her life for a bottle of sake if it sounds entertaining, and fairies rarely let a comrade's injuries concern them more than a few minutes. Within fairy society, a sort of trick she employed would be considered little more than a rude prank. And Chirino survived anyway. After laying in an alley for 40 seconds, she revived and flew off, swearing vengeance. By mid-afternoon, she seemed already forgotten about the incident and returned to freezing her lake. Arcane theoricians have suggested the bored fairy's attention span may be the shortest amount of time possible.